Hello everyone, and this is my review for Monday Night Raw on March 10th, 2014. And, you know, for the most part, I feel like they did a pretty decent job of making matches and continuing the building of the feuds this week with Monday Night Raw towards WrestleMania. Of course, they started off the show with Hogan making his announcement, which was the inaugural 30-man Battle Royal, Andre the Giant 30-man Battle Royal. And honestly, I actually like this concept. I hope this is something they're going to continue doing every year. Because, you know, it's always fun watching a Battle Royal in any way. And it also just gets a bunch of the guys, you know, onto the show and gives them their potential WrestleMania paydays at that point. So it's definitely a good way of doing something like that, and also just getting a lot of the guys onto the show at that point in time without over flooding everything with different feuds and making things way too convoluted at that point. So I definitely like that idea, and going with that and calling it the Andre the Giant Battle Royal was a great way of doing it, because, you know, Andre the Giant, King of the Battle Royals, great name towards that match, and hopefully this is something they'll be continuing, you know, doing on a yearly basis from now on, at least for a little while. The other areas of Raw, I like the area where they're making it feel like that the Shield's fully getting back together after kind of teasing that they're breaking up at this point. And, you know, with what they did on SmackDown with them having the Summit, and then of course the area with them having to face Cody Rhodes and Goldust, you know, the people where they felt like where the dissension kind of started with them losing the tag titles. I liked where they went with it. The match with Cody Rhodes and Goldust was actually a fun one as well. You also saw some continuation with the Usos and the New Age Outlaws at this point. Obviously, they weren't going to go ahead and try to end the feud with the main event show. And they're definitely going to be continuing on with this feud for a little bit longer. I'm not sure if it's going to lead into a WrestleMania match. And same with the Shield. You don't know if they're going to go with a full turn and, you know, them breaking off and do some kind of triple threat or something at WrestleMania, but we'll see where they go with that as well. So both those storylines are kind of up in the air where they're going. Is Shield going to be fully back together, or are they going to do the split before WrestleMania? And then, of course, are they going to be making the Usos feud with the New Age Outlaws going into WrestleMania itself? The other storylines that were for the most part, again, like I said, I felt they did a good job of building them. The promos between John Cena and Bray Wyatt were really good for the most part, at least through Bray Wyatt. I really didn't care much for how John Cena took it. He basically took it as his normal joking type self at this point. Hopefully they will allow Cena to be a little bit more serious with it, instead of just, you know, cracking one wisecrack after another leading up to the match into the pay-per-view. I definitely like where that they're having the match with Bray Wyatt and John Cena, and it's going to be interesting to see Cena in a feud that's basically a mid-card feud at this point in time, because, you know, the Wyatt family's definitely over, and it's good to put them with John Cena at this point, but you know, considering the other matches, it's kind of almost at a mid-card type level at this point. So it'll be interesting to see what they can pull off with that feud, and if they'll try anything different going into the WrestleMania match itself. And the Brock Lesnar-Undertaker feud, obviously this week was just going to be basically another promo. You're not going to probably see too much in terms of physical altercation between them until probably the final few weeks of WrestleMania. Who knows when we'll see Brock Lesnar on Raw again? Maybe it'll be next week. Maybe it'll be 2 weeks down the road. I'm not sure. The promo that Paul Heyman threw out there, one last week was completely brilliant with what he did with the whole CM Punk deal, and then tying that whole CM Punk deal into the storyline with Brock Lesnar and Undertaker, saying that the Undertaker was one of the reasons. He blames the Undertaker for the reason why CM Punk left, and it was the whole downward spiral after that match. I liked how they did that, and the promo that Paul Heyman delivered this week was just completely brilliant. Basically throwing out the stats and giving, not that the Undertaker streak needed meaning to the fans in any way, but putting those extra tidbits with Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan and the other superstars in there just gave even more emphasis to the whole 21-0 streak that the Undertaker has. So they did the promo was done really well. And this basically leads to my final bits for the night, which was the segment with Daniel Bryan not at the beginning of the show, pretty much at the beginning of the last hour. The whole Occupy Raw segment, and honestly, I don't feel it went too long. It definitely went long, and that was something that they really needed to do to try to emphasize that. These fans and Daniel Bryan have basically taken over Raw. So if it would have been like a short 10-minute segment, it doesn't really have that much meaning. Making it that 15, 20-minute segment at that point, leading into Daniel Bryan finally getting what he wants, a match with Triple H at WrestleMania. I thought it was done at least decently well. Probably not as good as it could have been, but it definitely came off at least decent in that point. The one aspect that I find, it's good to see that they're putting Daniel Bryan in like a main event caliber type feud and type matches for WrestleMania because he's definitely the most over guy. He needs to be in those bigger matches with WrestleMania. Putting him in the match with Triple H was a great way of going. I don't actually really like the aspect of, adding the stipulation of Daniel Bryan wins, he gets into the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. Only because it actually de-emphasizes any kind of match and any kind of feud with Triple H at that point, because it kind of just gives away the conclusion to that match at WrestleMania that Daniel Bryan's going to win, and they're going to put him into the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. I wish that if they were going that route of wanting to put him in the title match, I feel they should have almost made the Triple H feud like a Raw type feud leading into WrestleMania, and then like a week or two before you have that match and the stipulations thrown in. But now adding that match to WrestleMania, and then if he gets in, he goes into the title match later that night, kind of puts a damper on the whole Triple H and Daniel Bryan feud. And again, it just falls under that. And I feel like it is probably the best time to start cashing in on the Daniel Bryan popularity. I'm a Daniel Bryan fan and have been for quite some time. Gotten to see just how well he works in the ring. He's gotten a lot better with his promo skills over the past few years. So it's definitely one of those areas that they needed to cash in soon on his popularity and getting him the title. But now they're kind of de-emphasizing one match for the final match. And they needed to get somebody popular in there because I don't think they were expecting as big of a backlash. They were expecting a backlash of some sorts going in with a Randy Orton-Batista feud, but they probably felt that feud could have overcome some of that backlash. But they were expecting Batista to be able to continue working as a face and Daniel Bryan working as a heel, or not Daniel Bryan, but Randy Orton working as a heel. But with just the backlash that Batista got with his return at the Royal Rumble, with Elimination Chamber, just all the other Raws leading into that, up to this point, they had to turn him heel. And you can't really have a heel versus heel feud going into WrestleMania's main event. They were going to have to find a way to insert one of the more popular faces, or in this case, Daniel Bryan into it, just so you really want to get that backlash at the main event of WrestleMania. But I don't feel like it's a good idea to de-emphasize one match just so you can get your most popular guy into the final match where you want him to actually be. The Triple H and Daniel Bryan match, if you're going for the triple threat at the end now, or basically changing it to the triple threat, should have happened on Raw at some point over the next week or two, and then you have the title match at WrestleMania instead of you have this feud with Triple H. And you know, the segments that you get with Triple H and Daniel Bryan may be good, but you pretty much have the answer of who's going to win this match in any way, shape, or form. And that kind of puts a damper onto that match itself, and hopefully not. It won't put any kind of damper onto the main event, which will more than likely be Batista, Randy Orton, and Daniel Bryan now. Overall, I felt like they did at least a decent job this week. A really good, or not really decent job. There were a lot of really good build and a lot of really good segments going into into WrestleMania this week. Raw came off really well, and it was definitely enjoyable. So yeah, that's my review this week for WWE Monday Night Raw, and I thank you guys for watching.